Ever wonder why some people seem to have laser-like focus and they achieve important milestones? In this video, I'll show you how to apply imagery to your job. Now, one thing I'm going to offer, if you're listening to this video, down below in the comments, please write the word imagery and I'll send you a free download. A white paper called What I've Learned from Steve Jobs. Hi, I'm Paul Renaud. I'm an executive coach with over 32 years of business experience. I lived and worked in 10 countries, and my messages are to help you become a better leader. Wouldn't it be amazing to focus, think, and get what we want, such as a promotion, finding a new friend or partner, getting a new client, or resolving a conflict with someone that matters to you? Earl Nightingale once said, "What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." If you believe that we're only using a very small part of our brain's potential, anywhere between 5 and 8%, according to experts, then by tapping into that rest of that potential, maybe we can achieve what we believe. Here's a definition of imagery. Imagery is quite simply creating images in your mind. Let's take an example. Chris was 8 years old when he was pushed into a public swimming pool by his older brother, Dan, who realized, much to his horror, that his little brother didn't know how to swim. Chris took swimming lessons and soon he was competing in backstroke swimming at local and regional levels. At the age of 12, Chris got his break. He was invited to his first provincial competition. 2 years later, after a race, his coach told him he broke a national record in the 100-meter backstroke. Chris was the fastest in his age group in Canada. At 16 years old, Chris was rated top 25 in the world. He maintained his competitive momentum and represented Canada at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics and in the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Now, many factors are responsible for reaching the Olympics: hard work, grueling training, excellent coaches, diet, nutrition, and sleep. But was Chris using imagery to explain his success? Indeed. Chris would always run through the race in his mind by visualizing. Chris would find a quiet spot, lie down, and during his relaxation technique, he could feel how his body felt at each stage, and he'd compensate. He visualized the feel of the water on his face, how his body would feel after the first 25 meters of a race, the sensation of tiredness and how to overcome it. To turn off distractions, Chris would place a towel on his head in order to get into the zone of competition, to concentrate and imagine himself in the pool, going over every move and turn in the water and seeing himself hit the finish wall. His imagery method worked, and it culminated by getting him to represent Canada in both Olympics. So can we apply this to business? Well, a leading authority in neurosciences called Andrei explains that there are important areas of the brain that are affected when imagery is activated. Dr. Pillay states that imagery acts as a precursor to action. He says it's important for this to feel real, and when you do imagine it, try to imagine yourself doing it so that you are in the picture. So how does it work? Well, one way of creating imagery is to think and concentrate by seeing yourself do something, or in this case, thinking in the first person. If you're running a race, you could see yourself running, hitting the ground, and looking at your opponents as you strive for the finish line. Alternately, try looking at yourself in the same race, but in the third person. In other words, observing you in the race as if you're filming yourself from above, looking at yourself progress to the point of coming from behind and winning the race. In both cases, you're effectively creating a mental image of you, achieving something important. Now apply this technique to your job, closing that key deal, delivering an important presentation, or winning a negotiation. It doesn't have to be complicated. Think, focus, and see yourself meet the objective or the milestone. In my experience, there's also two things to remember about imagery or visualization. One, you must believe that imagery works. Two, don't ask yourself how this works. It just does. People spend too much time trying to understand how it works. If you wish to gain from it, don't bother asking how it works. Just apply the principle. It sure worked for Chris. How do I know? Chris is my nephew, Chris Renaud, and we followed his journey to the Olympics since he was very small. Interviewing him was interesting and enlightening, but I wasn't surprised hearing the benefits of imagery. I've met other athletes, executives, entrepreneurs, students, and live-at-home moms who embrace this concept. Imagery also helped me reach my goals. Chris now works for 3M and he applies imagery to business. Chris does his planning before meetings and visualizes the outcome. In Chris's opinion, it's never wasted time to visualize. You can't lose. My suggestion? Try it, and you might just be shocked with the results. What's the worst that could happen? Imagery is less and less about spirituality or the unexplained, but rather our ability to reach into that untapped potential of the brain, therefore giving us more control and ultimately success. If you like what you've heard, just head over to my website to get the How to Practice Imagery article. You'll find the link below. Thank you.